மறக்காம சர்ப்ரைஸ் பண்ணுங்க. Thank you.
Sometimes we just need new ideas to play old openings differently. And this is what I'm going to try to give you today. My name is Henrik Danielsen, and I'm a Grandmaster from Iceland. You see, the diagram we have in front of us is London's system, but already in move number 2, White, he put his bishop on f4, and that gives totally new ideas. I will show you that you can use some of the same ideas that is arriving after c4 and bishop f5. This is the Baltic defense, well-known defense against the Queen's Gambit, but not so popular. Here we have White, we have one tempo more, and I remember when I was a junior starting playing chess that my trainer, he said, well, bishop f4 doesn't give anything because black can just develop symmetrically and then white has nothing. Well, I don't think that that is the truth. Actually, I think white can take the initiative here with playing the move c4, but he needs to play c4. He needs to get this pressure in the center, and c4 is the only move here to get that pressure. Now, if black defends the pawn on d5 with either e6 or c6, then we will see how white should develop. Let's look at e6 first. It is possible just to develop your pieces, and then, you know, black probably has to play c6 because knight f6 is just annoying after queen b3. This queen is putting pressure not only on b7 but also on d5, giving white advantage. So that's why black probably should play c6, but you see, after queen b3 and queen b6, then we get a tight position forcing black into our pattern, because after queen captures b6 forced, we capture back with the a pawn and have opened up for our rook on a1. It has a great pressure along the a file, and with this c5 pawn, then we have space advantage, and space advantage is very important in chess, of course. So this position here is just better for white, and that's what we play for. So let's look after c4 at c6 move. Here after e3 and e6, I suggest white just to play queen b3, and after queen b6 then just go for c5. And then we get into the same type position that is to white's advantage. And after b4 here, we have the same story, great pressure in the center. We just have to remember that black's only contra-attack is to push e5, e6, e5. He has nothing else. You know, as black, you just have to stay passive on the queen side, because you can't be active where you are weak, can you? It's not possible. So also knight c3 is possible, of course, but then after knight d7 and queen b3, black will just get the time to put up a defense position so that he can play a6, and then after b4, you see often in positions like this, then white is threatening the move b4, b5, because when the rooks are still on the same line, then black's a pawn is pinned. So that's the reason why black plays rook to c8, and here it is possible for white to, of course, just to develop his knight to f3. I'm going to look at the move f2 to f3 instead. But the knight is also strong here. It can later go to d2, b3, and up to a5. And on a5, it is, of course, extremely strong. Often so strong that black will have to exchange it with a bishop to d8. Then after rook c8, I suggest f3, because not only do we have more space on the queen side, but now we also take space on the king side. And then we become extremely strong. We are in charge all over the board. And here it's just a game for white, actually. Black is just defending, and he has no way that he can win it. And then we need to also remember that the knight also from e2 can hit the a5 square. And now bishop c7 is actually a blunder. He wants to be able to defend his pawn on b7, and he didn't like to castle black, because after knight a5 and an exchange on a5, then this type position is just much better for white. White, he doesn't need to castle. He can just keep his king safely on d2, and then later the rook will move up to a4 probably and b4 and start to push on the b7 pawn. And this is really an annoying position for black. Maybe Fischer, he would call this one position for white. I'm sure he would. Bishop c7, and the point is that of course we have a strong move in knight a5, but we don't need this. Bishop captures c7, and then immediately we have this b5 break, since there's nothing black can do. You see, he can't capture with the a pawn because of rook a8, and then this rook on h8 is gone. So he will have to capture with the b pawn, but then we capture with the knight, and again he can't capture our knight. We know, of course, why. Rook a8, and then he must play rook c6, and immediately we can go for the kill with knight a5. It is like this: when you have a one position, then you need to finish your opponent off, and you need to do it without mercy. And it sounds a bit hard, but that's just how it is. It's just like in boxing. You know, if you give your opponent there a second chance, then he will come back and do his best, because there's nothing else to do. So you have to finish your opponent off, and we finish him off with knight a5 in this position. And then after knight captures c6 and rook a8, he is lost, because the rook on h8 is long gone. So if you are one of those players that think that bishop f4 in this position here is just without poison, then you are mistaken, and I'm going to show you why.
மறக்காம சர்ப்ரைஸ் பண்ணுங்க. தேங்க்யூ.